Welcome back to Omni Garage. So we've been really lucky that Armour Detail Supply have sent us out such a large range of products for us to try out, and the next one on the list is their iron remover. Typically iron removers smell really bad. They smell like rotten eggs and it's not very pleasant to use. This product has got more of a coconut scent to it, which is quite new for iron removers to have a scent. They don't usually come scented, and I've done a pretty reasonable job at lowering the bad smell of typical iron removers to give it a slight coconut scent, so good on them for doing that. What we're going to do is we're going to go and basically wash this vehicle. We're going to get rid of all the large bits of dirt and grime off the vehicle, get our surface nice and bare so that we can then start to apply our iron remover to remove some of the embedded iron on the clear coat of this vehicle. So what tends to happen is that over time iron starts to build up on the surface of the vehicle. So that might come from the brakes, that might come from, you know, the cars in front of you, that might come from a train track, that might come from the shipping process of your vehicle arriving to you. But what's really important is that we want to remove the iron from the surface of the car. We usually remove the iron during a decontamination process before we polish, because we don't want to have iron particles stuck in our polishing pad for us to then go scratch further down. You also want to remove the iron particles so that you're left with a nice smooth surface if you're going to ceramic coat or something like that, so that the ceramic coating has got a nice clean surface to bond to help improve longevity and performance of the ceramic coating. You might also want to remove iron particles just periodically, you know, sort of every 6 months or so that you've got a nice clean surface so that your ceramic coating starts to perform well again. And so there are multiple reasons why you want to remove iron from the surface. This car has been paint corrected, it has got a ceramic coating applied to it, it's now been 6 months or so, and so I can start to feel contaminants on the paint, so I want to start to remove those to help restore some of the hydrophobic properties of the coating. So I'm going to spray the iron remover on this door. I don't know where any iron is because you can't see it, but what will happen is this chemical will start to turn purple through the chemical reaction. I'm just going to spray this on, best guess, and see where some is. So you can see that by me spraying it, letting it dwell for a period of time, in all these cracks here, you can see all this purple coming through. That is all embedded iron. There's a spot there, there's a couple of spots all the way along here, there's the odd bit here and there on the surface of the paint, there's one there, there's a couple of little spots there, and so that's quite telling that there is actually iron on this car. Not a huge amount, and I wouldn't expect that there would be a huge amount on there given that we've already done this process before, but there's definitely a little bit on there. And so what I've done is I've just sprayed the back of the car, because the back of the car is generally where you find the most amount of iron. As you can see, as we let this dwell over time, we start to see a bunch of iron deposits. And now, this has tricked me a couple of times and I've been caught out by this, but what people think is that you spray this on, you let it react, as it turns purple and you've let it dwell, you then rinse the surface down and iron is all removed. That's not necessarily true. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rinse the surface down. And what you would expect is that the iron has now been removed, that the chemical has reacted, it has loosened the iron particle in the clear coat. A simple rinse down gets rid of it. But if I was to now spray more iron remover, and so what you can see now is that we've got purple appearing again. Oh, but Glenn, I've just sprayed this on and it's turned purple and I've rinsed it down and all my iron should be removed. Well, that's not necessarily true. Couple of things of what's happened here is that over time what happens is we have iron particles that sit on the surface that when we spray and we rinse should be removed. But these iron particles, they tend to bury themselves deep into the clear coat and they get quite stuck in there. We need to agitate and we need to loosen those particles so that we can actually dislodge them from the clear coat. Now what I like to do is I like to combine my iron remove step with my mechanical decontamination step. So what I have here is I have a basically a synthetic clay towel. I've had that sitting in my soap bucket so to provide a little bit of lubrication. And now that I've got my iron remover on here, I can now come in and just wipe very gently along the surface here as part of the decontamination step to remove those iron particles and any other contaminants that are on the surface, so that we are left with a nice bare surface. And hopefully now what we should see is that if I was to spray this for the third time, that most of the iron from the surface should be removed. And as you run your decontamination towel along here, I can feel the surface of this paint getting smoother and smoother, and that sort of tells me that we're removing the contaminants bedded into that clear coat. So now I'm going to rinse this down and I'm going to apply some more iron remover and see if they've gone. Okay, so we'll spray our iron remover on for the third time. And what we should see now is a complete reduction in the amount of iron that's left on the surface. And in fact, I'd probably suspect that we'd only have one or two sort of particles left. We'll let that dwell and see what we've got. So we'll let that dwell for a couple of minutes. Now this iron remover has got a really quick sort of reaction time, and what we're seeing is we're seeing one dot there and one dot there, and I don't see any other dots in that area. So that tells us that there's been a large reduction in the amount of iron left on the surface. So with any iron removal step, when you finish removing the iron, you want to make sure that you rinse the vehicle down very thoroughly so that you remove any excess iron remover, because you definitely do not want that drying on the surface. So at first glance, when I sprayed this onto the panel of the car, we saw that over time, sort of 3 or 4 minutes, that this product started to turn purple, and that's because it's reacting with the iron and the fallout on the paint with the active ingredient sodium thioglycolate. It turns purple, and that's how we can identify if we've got iron on the car. And then we thought that, you know, when it reacts and it turns purple, it's like, oh cool, all the iron's removed, rinse down the vehicle and iron is gone. That's partly true, because there'll be some iron particles that sit on the surface of the paint that haven't embedded themselves, and we might just get lucky that their reaction is enough with a little bit of water and it will run off. But you saw that when I reapplied the iron remover for the second time, we saw more iron on the paint. And the reason for that is because some of these iron particles are embedded deep into the clear coat. Now that's not a failure of this product to remove any iron, that's a failure of the process. And I've been caught in that trap before where I thought you can just spray it on, let it turn purple, rinse off, iron gone. That's not necessarily true. You've got to have a little bit of agitation there. And so I like to combine my iron removal with my mechanical decontamination step, where I use my synthetic clay mitt, or I use my synthetic clay towel, and I use that to agitate, to remove contaminants, and also to help dislodge those iron particles in combination with an iron remover to help maintain that surface to be nice and bare, ready for maybe a coating to be applied, or for me to then move into my polishing steps. So I think this product has done a really good job when used correctly. I think that way you end up removing more iron than what you would usually do if you had just sprayed it on. So that's it for Omni Garage. Subscribe to the channel so you know when we're releasing more content like this. And once again, thanks for watching. And Armour Detail Supply, thank you very much for sending out these products. We really enjoyed using them.